The sky over Earth had always been vast and filled with mysteries, but few believed those mysteries would ever speak back. Humanity had been sending messages into the void for decades, radio signals, satellite broadcasts, even a golden record etched with greetings in multiple languages. Scientists, dreamers, and believers hoped that someone or something out there might listen, but nothing ever answered. It wasn't for lack of effort. SETI listened tirelessly, scanning the sky for any sign of intelligence. Space agencies spent billions trying to extend humanity's reach beyond its home. Writers and philosophers imagined futures where humans would stand among the stars, speaking with civilizations beyond imagination. Yet, all they received was silence. The silence was deafening. Some scientists proposed that maybe there was no one else. Others suggested that intelligent civilizations simply destroyed themselves before they could reach out. A few feared something worse, that something was watching, waiting, and choosing not to respond. Then, Earth made a mistake. It wasn't a war, though it could have been. It wasn't an invention gone wrong, though that was close. No, it was something much simpler. A group of researchers, tired of the silence, decided to send a message that could not be ignored. The message wasn't a greeting or a peaceful transmission of knowledge. It wasn't a beacon of hope. It was a challenge. With powerful new technology, they beamed a signal across the stars, a signal designed not just to be heard, but to provoke. It contained encrypted data, complex and aggressive in its structure, something that could not be mistaken for an accident. To an advanced mind, it would seem like a test, a puzzle designed to be solved, but to something else, it might have seemed like a dare. Decades passed, and the message was nearly forgotten. The researchers who had sent it grew old, retired, or passed away. No response came. Just like always, humanity continued to push forward, expanding its technology, reaching further into the unknown, still believing they were alone. Until they weren't. It started small. Satellites stopped working. At first, people blamed malfunctions, old hardware, interference from cosmic radiation. But soon, the failures became too precise, too systematic. Communication networks were disrupted, major cities experienced blackouts, and global positioning systems collapsed. Panic set in as experts struggled to find an explanation. Then, the sky changed. A dark object appeared beyond the moon, massive, silent, and watching. It didn't respond to transmissions, didn't react to warnings, didn't acknowledge humanity's presence at all. It simply waited. Governments scrambled, military forces around the world prepared for the worst. Scientists debated whether it was hostile, but deep down, they all knew, this wasn't an accident, this was a response. Days passed, and then the message arrived, not in sound, but in light. The object in the sky emitted a beam, directed at Earth's surface, carving symbols into the oceans, shifting tides, forcing humanity to look up and understand. It wasn't a greeting. It was an answer. The message they had sent, the challenge they had issued, had been heard, and now, something greater had come to reply. Humanity braced for destruction. They had seen this moment in their nightmares, in their movies, in their fears of the unknown. Weapons were prepared, leaders delivered speeches, and families held each other close. But then, something unexpected happened. A scientist, one of the few still alive who had worked on the original message, deciphered the symbols carved into Earth. The meaning wasn't war, it wasn't destruction, it wasn't even a warning. It was respect. The message, translated as best as human minds could grasp, was an acknowledgement. The beings who had arrived were not here to conquer, nor to destroy. They had seen the challenge, understood its meaning, and had responded, not with violence, but with recognition. Humanity had done something no other species had dared. They had sent a call so bold, so reckless, that it had caught the attention of minds far beyond their understanding, and those minds had chosen not to erase them, but to acknowledge them as something worth noticing. The object in the sky remained for a time, then, as suddenly as it had arrived, it disappeared. No weapons were fired, no war was waged. The message had been received, and an answer had been given. Humanity had spoken to the void. And for the first time, the void had spoken back. For years, humans had sent signals into space, hoping someone would listen. Radio waves, coded messages, entire records of human culture were beamed out into the void. Scientists imagined the possibility of a reply, of first contact, of a universe filled with intelligent life, but nothing ever answered. Most people forgot about it. The signals continued, but they became background noise, part of a long-shot dream that had faded. Governments stopped funding large-scale searches. The world moved on. Humanity was too busy with its own struggles, climate change, politics, wars, and the slow but steady march of technology. The dream of alien contact was a fantasy for scientists and writers, nothing more. But they had missed something. Deep in the archives of old satellite data, buried in signals dismissed as random noise, there was a pattern, a response. Something had spoken back, but the message was overlooked. It wasn't a strong signal. It wasn't structured in a way that made sense at first. The computers flagged it, but no one checked it carefully enough. A single mistake, human error, meant that the first true contact was ignored. Decades passed. The beings who had sent the message waited. When no answer came, they came to a conclusion. Humanity had either ignored them on purpose or was incapable of understanding. Either way, their patience ran out. Then, something happened that no one could ignore. It started with an accident. A group of private researchers working on a deep space project decided to send a new kind of message, one not just in sound, but in light, energy, and pulses designed to be impossible to miss. They weren't trying to be subtle. They wanted attention. If something was out there, they wanted it to see them. And something did. At first, the signs were small, anomalies in satellite readings, distortions in deep space signals. Then, a massive energy burst from outside the solar system, too focused, too deliberate to be natural. It was a response, and this time, it was impossible to overlook. Governments panicked. Some saw it as a threat, others as an opportunity. Scientists scrambled to interpret the data, to understand what was being said. The message wasn't words or numbers, but something deeper, something encoded in the very fabric of physics. It was complex, layered, beyond human understanding at first. Then, they realized the truth. The response was a warning. Not a threat, not an attack, but a simple, undeniable statement. We heard you, be careful. But careful of what? Before humanity could figure it out, the sky changed. A massive object appeared just beyond the orbit of Neptune. It hadn't traveled there in any way humans understood. It had simply arrived. No engines, no exhaust, no slow approach. One moment it wasn't there, and then it was. Telescopes locked onto it. It was dark, smooth, and too perfectly shaped to be natural. It didn't emit signals, didn't send messages, didn't move. It just watched. The world held its breath. Debates broke out. Was it a ship, a probe? Was it alive? Could it be contacted? Should they try? Some wanted to send another message, to apologize, to explain. Others wanted to send weapons, fearing an invasion. But before humanity could decide, the object made its own move. A pulse of energy swept across the solar system, harmless but undeniable. It reached every device, every screen, every network, and it carried a single, final message. You have been seen. We are watching. Do not make the wrong choice. Then, just as suddenly as it had arrived, the object disappeared. No explosion, no flight path, no visible movement. One moment it was there, and then it was gone. Humanity was left in silence, but this time, the silence was different. It was filled with knowledge, with understanding. They had been ignored before, but now, they had been acknowledged. The universe was not empty. And humans were no longer alone. For centuries, humanity had been speaking into the void, hoping for a response. Scientists sent out signals, mathematical codes, and even recordings of human voices. Radio waves traveled across the cosmos, carrying messages of curiosity, peace, and the desire for connection, but no one ever answered. As time passed, Interest faded, governments stopped funding deep space communication projects, and the search for intelligent life became the work of a few stubborn dreamers. People accepted the silence. Maybe there was no one out there, maybe humanity was truly alone. But the truth was different. A message had arrived decades ago, hidden in the waves of cosmic radiation, buried beneath the natural hum of the universe. It was weak, distorted, and easily overlooked. Computers dismissed it as background noise. The data was stored, archived, and forgotten. Humanity had missed its first contact. Then, everything changed. A private research group, frustrated by years of silence, decided to take a new approach. They built a powerful transmitter, one that could send an undeniable signal, something that would demand attention. Instead of greetings or peaceful invitations, they sent something else, a challenge. It was a complex sequence, designed to test intelligence, something no natural process could produce, a puzzle built on fundamental laws of physics and mathematics, encoded with patterns too intricate to be accidental. If anything out there could solve it, they would have to answer. And someone did. The response wasn't immediate, it took months. At first, small anomalies appeared, tiny disruptions in satellite data, strange fluctuations in deep space readings. Then, an unknown signal emerged, not from the depths of space, but from Earth's own orbit. A structure appeared beyond the moon. It hadn't arrived in any way humans understood, no visible propulsion, no entry path, no warning. One moment, space was empty, the next, it was there. Governments panicked. Was it hostile, a threat? Scientists tried to communicate, sending every known language, every mathematical formula, every form of contact imaginable. Then, a signal was received. Not in words, not in numbers, but in something far more complex, a response to the challenge. The sequence humanity had sent into the stars had been solved, easily. The answer came with additional data, more intricate than anything humans had ever encountered. It was proof they were not alone. But the message carried something else, something chilling. You were not supposed to call. The world stood still. What did it mean? Had humanity made a mistake? Had they drawn attention to something they didn't understand? The object in orbit remained motionless for days, no demands, no threats, just watching. Then, without warning, it vanished, no movement, no trace, gone. But the message remained. And deep in the archives of forgotten satellite data, scientists finally reviewed the old records. The first message, the one they had missed, was found. It had been waiting all along. It was simple, a warning. Stay quiet. Humanity had not been ignored, it had been spared. Now, they had been noticed. And there was no way to undo it. For as long as humans had gazed at the stars, they had wondered if someone, something, was out there. They sent radio waves, mathematical sequences, and digital recordings into the void, hoping for an answer. Scientists dreamed of first contact, of a message that would confirm they were not alone. But no answer came. Decades passed, and interest faded. The search for extraterrestrial intelligence lost funding, pushed aside in favor of more practical concerns. Governments turned their focus to colonizing Mars, mining asteroids, and defending against near-Earth objects. First contact became the obsession of dreamers and conspiracy theorists. What humanity did not know was that it had already been answered. The first message had arrived long ago, buried in the background radiation of space, weak but structured. The pattern was unmistakable, a clear sign of intelligence, but when it reached Earth, it was mistaken for cosmic noise, dismissed by the algorithms designed to filter out meaningless static. The computers flagged it, but no one looked closely enough. The beings who had sent it waited, they observed. And when no reply came, they made a decision. Humanity had either ignored them, or worse, failed the test. So they left Earth alone. Until humans made a mistake they couldn't ignore. It began with an experiment. A team of private researchers, frustrated by decades of silence, decided to take an unconventional approach. They believed previous signals had been too passive, too weak. If intelligent life existed, they needed to send something undeniable. They built a transmitter unlike anything before, powerful, precise, and impossible to overlook. Instead of simple greetings or mathematical proofs, they sent something else, a challenge. It was a problem so intricate, so deeply embedded in the laws of physics, that no natural phenomenon could have produced it. The researchers believed that if anything out there was intelligent, it would recognize the message for what it was, an invitation. The signal left Earth at the speed of light, aimed at a region of space where unexplained anomalies had been detected. It was meant to get attention. And it did. The response came sooner than expected. Satellites malfunctioned, long-range telescopes picked up strange distortions in deep space, brief but powerful bursts of unknown energy pulsed through the solar system. Then, something arrived. It appeared without warning, an enormous, dark object, hovering just beyond the orbit of the Moon. It had no visible engines, no detectable energy output, it simply was. The world panicked. Governments scrambled to understand what they were dealing with. Was it a ship, a probe, a weapon? Then, a message came through. Not in any spoken language, not in numbers. It was the answer to the challenge humanity had sent. Perfect, precise, effortless. Along with it, a simple statement. You were not ready, now you have been noticed. The world stood still. Had humanity made a mistake? Had they called out to something they shouldn't have? The object remained in orbit for exactly 7 days. Then, as suddenly as it had arrived, it vanished. No acceleration, no departure, just gone. But something had changed. Days later, deep space observatories detected something terrifying, a disturbance, far beyond the edges of the solar system. Something massive had moved. Something ancient. Something that had been sleeping. And deep in Earth's forgotten archives, a team of scientists finally uncovered the first message. A warning, sent long ago. Do not call, do not make a sound. Humanity had missed the message. Now, something else had heard them. And it was coming. For over a century, humanity had been sending messages into the void, hoping for a reply. They used radio waves, laser pulses, and mathematical sequences, believing that if intelligent life existed, it would recognize these as signs of a thinking species. But space remained silent. At first, there was hope. Scientists believed the vast distances between stars were simply delaying the response, but as decades passed without an answer, hope faded. The search for extraterrestrial intelligence lost funding. People moved on. What humanity failed to realize was that the answer had already come. It had arrived decades earlier, hidden in a weak radio signal, buried in background noise. A structured pattern, unmistakably artificial, had reached Earth, but when the computers processing deep space data detected it, the message was dismissed as an error, just another anomaly in the sea of cosmic static. No one ever looked closer. The senders waited. When no reply came, they reached a conclusion. Humanity either ignored them or had failed the test. And so, they left Earth alone. Until humanity did something reckless. A group of private researchers, tired of waiting for a response that would never come, decided to take a different approach. Instead of sending simple greetings, they sent something new, a message designed to force a reply. They constructed a powerful signal, stronger than anything sent before, and embedded within it a puzzle, one so intricate, so deeply tied to the laws of physics, that no natural force could have created it. It was a challenge, an unmistakable invitation to communicate. The signal was broadcast into the dark. They expected it would take years to get an answer. It took 2 weeks. First came strange anomalies, satellites glitched, long-range sensors detected distortions, and deep space telescopes observed brief but powerful energy pulses at the edges of the solar system. Then, something appeared. A structure, impossibly large, materialized beyond the Moon. It had no visible propulsion, no heat signature, no radio emissions. It simply existed. The world stopped. Governments panicked. Scientists scrambled for answers. Every known method of communication was attempted, mathematics, music, linguistic patterns, messages of peace, desperate attempts to make contact. The object remained silent. Then, a transmission arrived. Not in words, not in numbers. It was the answer to the challenge humanity had sent, solved instantly. Along with it, a message. You are being protected, you should not have spoken, now, you have been noticed. Fear spread across the planet. Protected, from what? Who had been shielding them? The object remained for precisely 7 days, then, without warning, it vanished. No movement, no departure, just gone. But something else had changed. Deep space observatories detected a disturbance, a shift in the vast stillness beyond the solar system. Something immense had moved. Something old. Something that had been waiting. In the following days, as scientists combed through old research, they found what had been missed all those years ago. The first message. The warning. Do not call, do not make a sound. Humanity had ignored it. And now, something was coming.